Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of All Out War. I'm Turner and I'm joining the studio with Rosie.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Cool.
Yeah,
So we got a great podcast for you.
we do.
We do. And before we get into that, though, it's time for a baby update. This is our baby update. So for those of you that are new to the podcast, or maybe it's your first time ever listening, first of all, welcome. I'm glad you're listening. Our podcast is pregnant. We are at, how many weeks pregnant are we?
12.
We're 12 weeks pregnant right now. And so we're doing an update every week on the progress of our beautiful pregnancy of our little podcast.
To basically emphasize, it's still a baby. It's a baby at the first week, the first moment,
Yeah.
and it continues to be a baby. So we're 12 weeks pregnant. Our baby is as big as a plum. And, we're the last week of the third month of pregnancy. So we'll be 3 months pregnant around the time of right now.
Wow.
12 weeks.
Yeah.
It's basic math. There is a bunch of gross stuff that happens to women that I'm not going to go into.
Okay.
But the pregnancy is officially a baby bump. So you can finally start to see a baby.
That's awesome. We got a gender yet? Do we know what we're...
Not yet.
Okay. Pretty soon, though. Should be able to find out that...
Yeah, we'll find out what the gender is and we'll reveal it.
Our little plum. Plum baby.
So it's a plum. It actually looks like a baby. If you look at the ultrasound,
Yeah.
it looks like a baby.
So it's stopping looking like an alien now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it looks like an alien baby.
My wife would get mad when we were
I mean,
pregnant.
that looks like...
Dude, that's a baby.
That's a baby.
That's a little human, yeah.
Yeah. So this is 12 weeks. So
Just Google 12-week baby.
yeah.
12-week
So
fetus.
12 week clump of cells at 12 weeks.
We are vehemently pro-life, by the way.
So that's why we do it.
That's
Walk you through the stages of a pregnancy every week.
just the awareness of what's happening. So
Still a baby. Still can't kill it.
still can't kill it. That's right.
So
All right. So we got a great podcast today. And if you're hearing that music, you know what that means. Oh, yeah. Dude, turn up the bass if you're in your car. This is like one of my greatest remixes. I love this.
I'm not a fan.
I wish I would have made it. You only like it because you don't like it because it's an Apple.
That's true.
It's an iPhone
Ringtone.
But so we have a special guest on the podcast today.
We do.
It's your buddy. You know
my
him.
buddy. Yeah, Kyle Morris. He is a contributor, a news reporter for Breitbart News.
Yeah.
So he's super legit, another one of my political buddies. And it's not going to be all politics. So we do get into some cool stuff at the end. But Kyle.
Well, before we do that, we totally forgot.
Oh.
What do you know, man?
Oh, hey. Yeah, did you know? Hey, did you know that Britney Spears' music was used by the British Navy to scare off Somali pirates?
What?
Yeah.
How?
So it says, oops, I did it again, and Baby One More Time are being employed by the British naval officers in an attempt to scare off pirates along the east coast of Africa. So they just blast it.
How does that work?
Listen to this quote by a merchant naval officer. As soon as the pirates get a blast of Britney, they move on as quickly as they can.
Do you think that it's because they think it's American music, it's Americans, and they don't want to have trouble? Or
I don't know. I think that it's just terrible. It scares them. I don't know.
It's Britney. Beep.
Yeah. So there you go. I don't know.
That's a great. Did you know? I like that.
Yeah.
One.
So I guess they're not intimidated by guns because they assume they're gonna have guns. A naval ship. Most people have guns.
Right.
Dude, it's crazy. If you ever want to go into wasting a bunch of hours,
yeah,
go on YouTube and look up mercenaries shooting, defending ships from Somali pirates.
Oh yeah.
They just have these, mercenary guys that ships hire, and they just stand on the side, and when pirates come up, they just engage. And
dude, that would be a fun job.
It would be a fun job
if you didn't get seasick. It'd be fun.
Yeah,
we'd put up a big old Barrett, 50
Yeah, there's
cal.
dudes with shooting everything at them. There's a lot of Russians that do it.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Right?
But yeah, those are crazy. You get addicted. They're so cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be
I don't
awesome.
think they actually kill anybody. They just shoot around
You're
them.
shooting bullets at them.
Well, you shoot around them.
Yeah.
I just don't want to condone watching people get killed. I've never seen anyone that actually hits people. They just shoot around, like in front, scare them off.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, like warning, like, hey,
Yeah,
we're armed, and
yeah.
if you come near,
'Cause
you
you can't just shoot people.
right. Well,
Anyways.
it is open waters. I mean,
I guess you
I don't know what
guess you
I don't
could.
know what the laws are.
There's no law. There's no law in the open sea.
No law.
Anyways,
Arrgh. All right, man.
anyways, yeah. Here is our chat with Kyle.
That's right. So sit back, grab a coffee, and enjoy.
You're listening to the All Out War podcast.
Well, everybody, we have a great guest on the podcast today. His name is Kyle Morris. He's a reporter at Breitbart News, and you can find him on Twitter at Real Kyle Morris on Twitter.com. Kyle, welcome to the podcast, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Man, thank you for joining us. We are excited to talk to you about a few things today, and we're excited to see where this podcast ends up. So, so you're friends with Rosie, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, actually, before I let you talk, it was kind of funny because I remember when we first recorded the first episode, I sent it to you, Kyle, the really super crappy one. So you were one of the first people that I told about the podcast, but yeah, I'm happy you're finally making it on, man.
Oh, I am too. When you had sent me the original message, you had said, we're thinking about doing the podcast, and I was thinking, I get into podcasts. I sit around, I listen to podcasts when I'm free, when I have free time anyway.
Right. And
I always enjoy laid-back podcasts where it's not so serious. I work, 24 hours, 7 days a week on being serious when it comes to politics. So it's nice to step back and kind of relax and just talk about whatever and however, because I'm so used to being so uniform, and that can get old really quick. So.
Oh yeah, man, I totally get that.
Well, we cover three main areas of life: culture, politics, and theology. Because I'm a pastor, and all our listeners know that. But we'll cover these areas, and so they can go. These podcasts can go in a multitude of directions, and they have in the past. So that's cool. I'm glad you like that, because we might end up in some fun territory today as we talk to you. So
to get us started, would you just go through and tell a little bit about how you got working at Breitbart? Because Breitbart's huge. It was one of the first, online publications. When I first got into politics years ago, reading Andrew's columns, and it was him and Drudge, and a couple other people. But
it's one of the. I never understood how influential Breitbart was when I first got involved with politics. And I later came to know how big and powerful Andrew really was, and God rest his soul.
Mm-hmm.
He was fighting hard on front lines every single day, waking up people. But I got my start in a sort of odd way. I had taken a trip to the beach with a few of my friends, and it was January the 17th, 2017. So we were right there when Trump was about to have the inauguration, the big celebration, and I was on Twitter. And I had been on Twitter before, but it was nothing like it is today. It was not political. It was just a laid back where I would just share brief opinions. So for all the people that are going to go back and look for those tweets, good luck. They're gone. But someone had sent a link to me, and I was reading it. It was talking about Donald Trump, and the headline of it, if I can remember, I can't remember the exact, but to paraphrase, it was like Trump, the racist dictator to be. It was basically a preface to his whole presidency. So I was like, okay, let me read this. So I read it, and I hated it. And I was like, this is just absurd. I said, I'm going to tweet something. I'm not real political. I had talked about Colin Kaepernick when he first took a knee. I got on there and said something about that, but I tweeted it. And one of my followers just got real ugly. And she was like, I've never known you to be like this. I've been following you for 3 years now. You've never said anything like this. You've never stepped into the arena of politics. And at this time, I was not politically active. I voted for Trump. I had paid attention to a lot of what his message was. up until the election on November the 8th. I knew what he stood for, and I agreed with 98%, 99% of it. And I had come to understand that that was who the guy that I wanted in the White House. I wanted him to be the president, so I voted for him.
Mhm.
Well, this woman started talking to me and telling me, you're so wrong. Well, she used the term, what did she? It was like hashtag MAGA and then hashtag something else. And she was like, these are two of the most pathetic hashtags. Well, evidently, Trump World found these hashtags or this tweet from the hashtag, and a woman messaged me. And she was like, hey, I noticed you're young. Are you a big person in politics? Like, what do you do? And I told her, I'm just a college student, just at the beach enjoying time with friends. And I was like, this is kind of interesting. I like to argue. So I started arguing with these people, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and people were arguing and chiming in.
But there were also people. Wait a second, Kyle. You were arguing on the internet?
Oh, yeah.
That never happens.
But there were so many people that were coming on to take my side. I was like, this is very interesting. The dynamic here at play is one that I kind of like, because you have a group here that's arguing with a group here, but you have other people that are chiming in who are very neutral. Mm-hmm. And just saying, hey, be nice. I'll say those things to the people. I wasn't being ugly, but I was just simply stating, this is where I stand, and this is what I want to, put on my personal feed. Well, anyway, I got a message from a woman, a big Trump supporter. She had like 80,000 followers. And this was at the height of, I would say, Trump Twitter, the Twitter people that helped get Trump elected through social media, those people. Yeah. And she was very influential. She would tweet something, she would get 200 retweets in, 2 hours. So she was getting out there pretty well. And she said, hey, do you mind if I share your username, your profile? Can I give you a shout out? I said, yeah, what's it going to hurt? I'm thinking, well, I'll get 50 followers. Well, I woke up the next morning, noticed she had posted that. She talked about how young I was, that I was a Trump supporter, that I was a big believer in the conservative movement, conservative policy. And I woke up with 4,000 new followers. And I said, wow, this is insane. So I told a few people about it. And I just started tweeting ever so often after that. And it started growing. And I was like, wow, I really enjoy doing this. So I would share articles, blah, blah, blah. Well, one day I saw that the Daily Caller had posted openings for jobs. So I applied, worked there for a little bit. And then I actually got in touch with Amanda House, who's at Breitbart. Mm-hmm. Great girl. She's a wonderful woman. She stays on top of it. I was like, this is who, I need to go with any kind of question or concern about, becoming a future writer at Breitbart. So I did. And I got lucky. I really got lucky because there are so many people that would love to come write for Breitbart.
Yeah.
And they just don't have the opportunity yet. And at that time, I did not understand how lucky I was. And now I realize that. But I reached out to her. She put me in touch with a few of the higher ups there and talked with them, discussed it. They made me an offer. I accepted it, signed on. And now I'm there. And I look back at the last 2 years, and it's like a blur. There has been so much happen, because when I started, I had about 10,000 followers. And that was before I had even got into politics. Because back in the day, which I don't really want to go into all that, but back in the day, I used to tweet about other things, music and stuff like that.
Right,
I built up a small following that way, but nothing like it is today.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just look back, you know how it was. You knew when I was a smaller guy on Twitter.
Yeah,
you saw how it was.
Yeah, I'm still a small guy on Twitter.
But I mean, what I'm talking about. You know what it was like when I was a small guy on Twitter. My opinions were out there, but now, I mean, I see such an immense difference. I mean, I woke up one day and I was verified. I thought, wow, how did this happen? Everyone asked me, how does that happen? Because they're not supposed to, verify. But I mean, it's just a blur now to think about everything that has happened in these 2 years and to say that I'm now at Breitbart News. It's one of the most hated on the left. And they hate us because we always get it right. We put stuff out there that just destroys the leftist narrative, and that's what they don't like. So that's why they hate us so much. They don't like our influence. They don't like that on the certain, like, just say salute to America Day. I mean, our posts were reaching so many. I mean, our posts from the Democrat debate, we were the number 2 on all news organizations on Facebook that day. Fox News topped us. But I mean, we're getting out there. We're getting the message spread. And, you know, it's been a wild ride. I'll tell you that. And so many people ask me, you know, how'd you get your start? And I don't even know what to say sometimes, because I'm like, you know, I'm going to tell them that I got started on Twitter, and they're going to be like, what? No way. But I'm here to tell you, social media can launch an entire career.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, how many careers has YouTube made, right?
Right.
For people.
Exactly.
So you didn't go to college for journalism and do that whole...
I did.
Oh, you did?
I
Okay,
did go to school for journalism. I just graduated in May. I went there for telecommunication and film, which is practically broadcast journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a minor in political science. And I guess you would say that degree is sort of useless, because I'm not... I had already been employed at Breitbart before I even went, or finally got my degree from the university.
Right. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, one day I may use it, but as of now, no one's asked to see it. So,
Right.
That's awesome. What a cool story, too, about just how it catapulted you right into what you really enjoyed and what you were hopeful to be a part of anyways, you know?
Right. It was, and every day I think about it, I'm thinking, you know, I can't tell you how many messages I get with people asking for advice. How did you do this? How do you get here? And I tell them straight up, you know, I'm one of the lucky ones.
Mm-hmm.
I literally got into this career that I'm in because of a tweet that I sent about Trump. And I mean, they're just like, wow, I mean, that's insane. And I mean, that's the truth. It's just, people are so opinionated now, and your opinions can really impact, you know, the entire world. So if they're impacting the right kind of people that can get you places, those are good opinions to have.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I have those opinions. I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't say I'm so opinionated now just because of the certain roles that I've obtained over the past, you know, half year. But, you know, I try to throw in a few opinions. People know where I stand on most issues. But I don't want to be one of those people that's, you know, constant opinion, because we have to have real news. So
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the great things. I love following you because you keep it's. I was going to say, yeah, exactly. Everyone knows where you stand pretty much, and you just putting out the facts, man. It's very refreshing to just, you know, this is what stupid Acosta said this time, or, you know, something like that.
Oh, and it's so good. I mean, people love those clips, and if I can make people laugh, that's one of the ultimate goals. Is to most of the time when I tweet out a clip of Trump, you know, I would say that 50% of it's funny and 50% of it is, you know, a serious video where he's making a serious statement.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to throw in a little bit of comedic relief, because so many people out there are just on the edge of their seat every single day. It seems like, you know, you could just say hello and you're just going to tick the entire world off. So you have to just kind of throw in a little bit of the funny there, because let's be honest, Trump's a pretty funny guy.
Oh, yeah.
And you can be a leftist or you can be a conservative, Democrat, whatever. But some of the stuff he says is just slap your knee funny.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah. So I was going to say, speaking of that, and maybe we'll keep moving. I was going to say, like, I know for me on Twitter, it's part of me. I always worry if I ever go too far, because some of the stuff I like tweeting about, and we can maybe go into this a little bit later. Like, I've been tweeting today all about some conspiracy theory stuff. But before we go off the rails, if we do, I was going to say, you just went up to the White House. Speaking of Trump, please talk?
I did. I went, you know, that was my first trip to the White House. And it was a sunny day, but I was sweating in that suit. And I got up to the gate there. We rode over, we got out, we went inside. And it's really unlike anything else. To me it is. Because this is my career. You know, I follow what Trump says on the daily basis. And to think that that's his home, and you're in his home, it's just, it's really, I can't describe the feeling. It's really weird. And to also think about the millions and millions of people that have been there, and have seen the same things that I've seen. It's really, it's a breath of fresh air, really, because it felt like when I was there, a few people that I saw that were there that day, it wasn't, you would think it would be so politically divided. But I mean, I saw people from all different races, all different, you know, religions were in there, and people were just in there enjoying the history. And that was kind of cool to me because I wasn't going in there as a Trump supporter. I wasn't going in there as someone that was just going in there because that's where Trump lived. I was going in there because that was the history of this country. And while it's great, that Trump is the president and that's his home right now, that was not the sole reason for going. I went in there with a clear mind. I just wanted to appreciate the meetings that had taken place there, the people that had lived there, all the first ladies. There's been so many things that have happened in that one place in Washington, D.C., and to be there among all of it was very cool. So I really enjoyed that trip. That was one of the neatest buildings that I've ever been in. Yeah. So I did. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's an amazing place. I've had the opportunity to go in there once, and it's just the history. What it means for our nation is incredible, and the people who have graced the hallways and the rooms, and been in there.
I was gonna say, I think I had said I went there once. We got a tour of the West Wing with some Secret Service. I can't remember how we got there, but it was in I think it was during the Clinton presidency. But it was just so cool. I remember we walked in up the from the guard booth up that little path, and Wolf Blitzer just walked right by. And I was like, that's so cool. And he just walking by kind of nodded at us, and we kept going. And it's just, DC is so cool. And again, just the history of you summed it up perfectly, man. That's awesome. So
you were mentioning just basically you were talking about just kind of like how social media is and everything like that, and being a journalist, and how sometimes you got to take off your partisan hat so that you can report true news rather than fake news. Right. How does that work, and what do you think the state of journalism is, and where do you see it heading? Because it doesn't, from my point of view, from a guy that just watches it on TV and reads from the internet and stuff, it doesn't look good.
Well, this is the thing. People have got to understand how to separate something that is totally fake.
Hey,
something
Kyle.
that is totally real.
And
I know that to pick up on professionalism, to pick up on sentences. I mean, people will send me articles all the time. Is this real? Is this real? Is this fake? This sounds fake. Is it real? And I say, well, listen, this is how you do it. You take a sentence, just one fact that they mention. Go to your Google search bar, search that. I say, you're going to come across mainstream sources, okay? And while people say CNN is fake news and all of that, their opinions a lot of times are fake news, yes. But when you go to their website, you're scrolling through just a write-up of a simple article, of a simple speech that someone gave, you can go through there and find factual information. That's the same with CBS, NBC, Fox News, Breitbart. Any of them, you're going to find factual information. Mm-hmm. Now, people have got to also understand how to separate fake news and opinion, because so many people are getting fake news, something that's totally bogus, mixed up with an opinion piece that they don't like. Mm-hmm. So they read this opinion piece and they don't like it. So they're like, oh, that's fake news. No, it's not fake news. That's someone's opinion. You have to respect their opinion because we live in America. You can't call an opinion piece fake news simply because they said things that you don't like about the president, about conservatism, blah, blah, blah. You've got to understand that that article is not meant to be read and interpreted as something like I write, straight news. At Breitbart, we have opinion writers, and our opinion pieces are boldly outlined. You will know when they are opinions. They have the name of the author, what they said is maybe the headline. You should be able to know when something's opinion, when something's straight news, by the lead, by the very first sentence, by the opening. And that's the problem that so many Americans aren't understanding now, is that they don't like something that's fake news. It may not be fake news. It may be somebody's opinion. But even now, you have people that are reading real news and saying that it's fake news. And that's not a good look. That's not going to work. We can't run a successful news company if someone's reading something that I wrote and say, yeah, that's fake news, just because it's, about Trump or about, let's just say, Hillary Clinton. I wrote a piece on Hillary Clinton, and a conservative reads it. Well, that's fake news. Well, it's not fake news. It seriously happened. You know, I wouldn't make this up. And if you want to actually figure out if it's fake, take a quote and go search your Google search bar. And, you know, that quote that I mentioned in the piece from Hillary, go look further into it if you don't trust it. If you don't trust the source, go look into it. But the problem I'm seeing with so many journalists, and I'll admit I have frustration with it. Even, you know, I watch a lot of Fox News. MSNBC and Fox News are my two main cable news sources. But people have got to understand, too, that these people on the primetime hours are not there to tell you straight news. Those are opinion shows. People just got to understand that those are opinion shows. Talk shows are opinion shows. If you want something that's straight news, you need to find something. Everyone knows what an opinion is, because when they stumble across an opinion in a piece, they realize it. And if they agree with it, they keep reading. If they don't agree with it, they usually go away. So they know what an opinion is. But I'll tell you, you can read. For instance, I was in an Uber with a driver in D.C., and he questioned me of where I worked, where I was an employee. I didn't tell him. I mean, I don't know what these people are going to do nowadays. You know, you can't tell. So I told him, you know, I'm a journalist. I write. And he asked me, you know, what do you write about? I said, politics. He said, well, how do you keep your opinion out of your news? And I was like, you know, it's not that hard to do. That's what I get paid to do, is write straight news. So I pulled up one of my articles, and I bored him. I read him this article that I had written. And I said, now, after hearing that, you think I'm a conservative or a liberal, Democrat, Republican? What do you think? And he said, well, to be honest, I mean, I don't really know. And I said, well, that's the point. That's what I do for a living. I do straight news, straight down the middle. I said, now, my topics may be swayed sometimes about who I'm writing about, whether it be Candace Owens, Donald Trump, Don Jr. But you'll know by reading what I write that my news is straight. It's facts. It's their quotes. It's what they said. I never editorialize anything that I ever write. And that's the problem. So many people are editorializing straight news. Yeah. And that is uncalled for. I get, if that happens at Breitbart, my editor sends me a message back. I took out this sentence. I took out this sentence. I took out this. It sounds too editorial. It sounds too much like your opinion. And I'm like, okay, you know, totally fine with that. We have good editors there, and they catch that thing. Because sometimes I don't realize it, but they catch it. Yeah. And that's the problem here. People just got to understand that they're reading straight news or fake news. You know, and they've got to understand that opinions are opinions. People have them. People write every day. Yeah. And the future is, you never can tell the future in journalism because it's always changing.
Yeah. You know what's funny, though? Like, when you're mentioning this, I'm just thinking about shows like, even like Rachel Maddow or like Tucker Carlson on Fox. People watch them religiously, and they don't realize that this is their opinions. They're getting their news from opinions primarily.
Right.
And I think
that's what they say, yeah.
I believe that's probably caused so much polarization because it's
most certainly.
Yeah, so it's so radical. But man, it just kind of was like, as you were talking, it just kind of was dawning on me. Like, I'm a little slow, so
people watch and they think, oh, well, I'm watching a news channel, I must be getting news. Well, you're getting news, but you're getting news with a perspective. And that perspective is typically from one person, the anchor of the show. And, you know, you should be able to tell, you know, how someone leans. If you can watch an entire cable news program and not tell which way a person leans politically, then that's a good cable news network or good cable news program.
Exactly. And I was going to say that's how it used to be, you know, back in the 70s, maybe, you know, the early 80s. Yeah. It used to be, you would have, I'm trying to think, I'm stumping on some names right now.
I mean,
Walter Cronkite.
Walter Cronkite.
You know, he was probably a liberal. You know, he was probably a liberal, but he never, you know, it was just, here's the facts, exactly like how you said it. You know, this is what happened. You know, the five W's, you know, what happened, where it happened, this is it, blah, 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 blah. And I was going to say, it kind of is sad to think that, you know, because it's almost very condescending on either side where, like for me, and I think most Americans are smart enough to make up their own opinions. Like, I just want to know what the facts are, just
Right.
let me make up my
Right.
own opinion about how this affects anything that I believe about the person or the incident or whatever, just give me the facts.
Right.
So,
and that's the difference between social media and regular journalism, is because social media is literally 100% opinion.
most of the time.
Unless you're reposting an article that's written that's not opinion, that's just news, But I remember right after Trump met with the Korean North Korean
Kim Jong.
Kim Jong Un. Yeah, they showed a clip of a person who was from one of the other networks that's not conservative, and they were saying, yeah, he loves to meet with them because they're dictators, and he can plan how he's gonna how he's going to squelch the media. And they literally said that, and I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Let's look at the historic moment that this is for just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Leave your opinion out for just a second, please. And so it just makes me laugh, You there?
Hey, 1 sec.
Hey, hold on.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh
there
my
we go.
goodness, that was so weird. I'm so sorry about that.
I had noticed it had faded, and I was thinking maybe I'm still there. I don't know.
Sorry about that, man. I
I
don't know
got
what
an
happened.
incoming call and I canceled it, and then all of a sudden it took the Bluetooth off. Okay, I'm sorry.
okay.
So we can just cut over that. But
Yeah. So, anyways, but that's cool, man. So let's talk a minute about the Democrat. Unless you got Rosie, do you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
no, I mean, yeah, I was just gonna say and kind of, I don't know, pat you on the back, man. But it's so refreshing just to again have a source, it's just the facts, and so it's it's becoming increasingly rare, at least right now it seems, because there's so few places that just give it out like that. And I hope that anybody who's listening, that just go read, don't, if it's a factual news thing, don't get put off. I read sources like you said from MSNBC or
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. So I think it's a good way to sum it up. And so keep doing what you're doing, man. But yeah, what are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I would love to hear. Speaking of opinions, I'd love to hear your your opinion.
Okay.
On the because I know you're conservative. You already said you voted for Trump, so that's cool. And we are too as well. I wanted to just to ask your opinion on what the Democratic field in general, that you see these people that they're putting up there to kind of try and compete against Trump in November. What are you seeing here? Because to me personally, it's just laughable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the main thing I see is a total disaster. To have, I don't even know what the exact number is, but that's sad, how many candidates we have now, because it seems like every day another person announces that they're running.
Exactly.
But you have spiritual Marianne Williams, who is not going to do anything. She's just a great face to have on this stage.
She's so crazy.
And I hope she's very, how do I say this nicely? She's, let me just skip that part, 'cause I don't know how to say something there.
bless her heart,
else.
right? Bless
her heart. That's what we say in the South. Bless her heart. But, I mean, she is something else. And then you have people like Eric Swalwell, not even polling at 1%. He's down in the negatives by now. But you have these people that are taking this so seriously. And they're saying the dumbest things when they get on the debate stage. We'll take the most famous moment for all of the second night of debates when they ask about free health care, free taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens. And they all raised their hand, which Joe Biden was a little slow to raise his hand on. If you notice, if you go back and watch the clip,
Mm-hmm.
it's like Joe Biden had to think, should I raise my hand? And then he finally threw it up when everybody else sat there. But that's aside from the point. But those types of issues are what set the American people off. It can either turn on the American people or it can turn off the American people. But it's going to set them off one way or another. They're going to either like it or they're going to hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And my opinion is I hate it because we have so many people in America that, I hate to say the whole homeless, the veterans, the starving, but when you come down and think about it, you think about the real issue here. They want Medicare for all. They want, government funded health care for every person in America. But they can't even get our veterans that go to the VA taken care of. How the heck do they expect to take care of an entire nation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
That is government funded. They can't even take care of our veterans at the VA. But let's give everyone Medicare for all. Let's bankrupt the nation. And then you have the Green New Deal crap. But that's Ocasio-Cortez, and that's an entire podcast there on itself.
Oh, yeah.
But you have these candidates, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris. The best part, though, is when Kamala and Joe Biden went back and forth. And Joe Biden just finally gave up. He said, oh, well, I'm at a time. He didn't have anything to argue. She slapped him down that night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good thing, too, because it affected the polls.
Oh, yeah.
But to see all of these people lined up, people that, got up there, my friends were like, who's that? I've never seen them before. And I was like, well, it'll probably be the only time you do see them, so get used to it.
Right.
But, I mean, they are up here on the stage. They've raised this money, just like Gillibrand. These people have the craziest ideas. And it all comes back to raising taxes. They say they want to help the middle class, but they want to raise the middle class Americans' taxes. They want to keep those rising, and they want to help everyone. It's just totally absurd. And, if I could go off on a few candidates, there are a few that I would love to just go off on. But I'm going to call myself a professional journalist and just take a deep breath. Then after 2020, I'll get back to you, and we'll talk more about it. Because, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top here, who gets the nomination from the party. In my opinion, as of now, it looks like it's going to be Warren, Kamala, Biden, or Bernie. And I don't think it'll be Bernie. I still don't think he's doing well in the polls, but when it comes down to it, I don't think the majority of Democrats or the majority of the American people, per se, are ready for a lot of his ideas because he says them in a totally radical way. Mm-hmm. But Joe Biden, who is the former vice president, he was, loved by a lot of Americans. He's still got a heck of a good chance. And people are holding on to the Obama years. They don't want to let go because they know that was the only last successful thing that they've actually had. But after Michelle Obama's comments on Joe Biden, where she refused to endorse, all that, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, like I said, they all have crazy ideas. They all support the majority. They want gun control. That's another thing. That's not going to play well down here in the South. No. That's not going to play well with someone in Texas or even out in California who is a gun owner and lives in rural California. It's just not going to play out well. People love their guns. People don't love their guns just in spite of the left, but people love their guns because it makes them feel safer. I mean, personally, I'm a gun owner, and my whole family is a gun owner. My friends, they own guns. Those issues are not going to resonate with the American people.
Right.
And that's why, I think Trump's going to get another 4 years. I don't want to say, a certain, but it's a good chance. It's a really good chance right now. You're seeing the donations pour in. The polls are doing pretty well for Trump so far. But it's going to be interesting. We'll really know over the next, I would say, 6 months, who's definitely going to have a really, really good shot in the next 1 month, I think. But in the next 6 months, we'll know who that nominee is going to be.
Yeah.
Because
what do you think about Tulsi Gabbard? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii.
Yeah.
She's good. I will say that about Tulsi. Tulsi, of any Democrat that's running, is the least radical. Mm-hmm. Now, she has said some things that have really made me question, where she stands because they just weren't conservative principles. Mm-hmm. But as far as her views on censorship, social media censorship, her views on terrorism and how to combat terrorism globally, there's so much that, you could look at Tulsi and say, that she sounds conservative, but she's not. She's running around with the Democrat label, and it's going to hurt her. That's why she won't be successful in this race, because she's, you have to be so far left here to actually get your name in the box. And
Yeah.
she's just not going to be that girl. She may get, down and dirty and play dirty with them. But, I mean, you see the way she handles the media. She talks about the media, being unfair to her at the debate. They were giving the other candidates more time, not coming to her. She talked about interviews where the host of the MSNBC program would misconstrue what she was saying. And she just goes against the left sometimes, and they don't like that. And that's why she won't ultimately be successful here. But I do like Hope. She has a lot of good opinions. And she seems to keep it middle of the road for the most part, and tries to do what's best for the American people.
Yeah.
So I can certainly see why a lot of people actually like her.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people that are a lot of millennials who are, reluctant conservatives, is the best way to put it. They weren't radical enough to vote for Hillary, but they weren't jacked up about Trump, and they see her as sort of this beacon of, you talk about old school Democrats. She kind of puts that vibe off,
Right.
But yeah, I agree with you. I just was curious what your thoughts were, because I know there's a lot of people that like her. She's kind of
She's kind of behind the scenes. She's not an Elizabeth Warren, a Kamala, a Joe, or Bernie. She's one of those that's kind of stand off to the side.
Yeah.
But again, she is so intelligent. She's a veteran, served in Afghanistan. She's so brilliant. And, a lot of people just don't give her enough credit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she did Joe Rogan's podcast, so that's not
Did she?
Yeah, that's not a small thing. You spend an hour and a half, 2 hours on that guy's podcast. And he was peppering her with some questions. I listened to about half of it. But yeah, she's a Buddhist. She's a pacifist. That's why she wants to pull our troops back. Things like that. You got to really listen to some of that stuff to find out, because she won't outright say it. But yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to say, you talked about and her stance on and maybe we'll just make this the last political question, if we will, with the social media censorship. So we've had on a bunch of different people, or a few different people, different avenues or ways that they think the government should deal with it, or shouldn't. What do you think? So, what's your opinion on how, the social media censorship should go down, I guess, basically?
Oh, this is one of the most pressing issues facing social media and, political ideology, because people, and this is where it crosses the line for me, is when you have someone who, is on social media, posts something, and they're just gone.
Yeah.
Just gone. Overnight, gone. And you wake up and you're like, where are these people?
Yeah.
They had 2,000, 200,000, 300,000 followers, and they're just not here anymore. And they are, in a way, being silenced. But, so many people, when the Krasenstein brothers were removed, tried to make the argument that was, affecting their free speech. They had done nothing wrong. No, they had done something wrong. That was the removal that I fully supported. And it's not because that they were anti-Trump. It's because that they broke Twitter's rules, and we were actually told that they broke Twitter's rules in creating multiple accounts. Now, you've got people out here like, let's say, James Woods. I don't want to talk about a few people because I'm not necessarily a fan of them.
Right.
But you know what I mean? I don't want to talk bad about anybody, so I won't say anything. But there are a few people out here that are posting things that they know will get them removed, and they know that it's going to set a bomb off on Twitter, and they will have people supporting them. Those are the people that I don't necessarily tend to support. I support people, and I wish I could remember her name, that had said something, I think it was about trans people. But it was not an ugly comment, but she got removed, and it was discussed on the Joe Rogan podcast with a guy named Tim. What is his last name? His first name's Tim.
Oh, Tim Pool?
Tim Pool.
Yeah.
He was on there discussing this girl. That's a band that I don't support, because she said something about trans people, but it was not a anti-trans comment. She wasn't being ugly. Those kind of comments where people are just banned and they don't get an explanation are what really tick me off. But like I said, people are pushing out there. They know what's going to get them removed. And I see people out there that are defending them and sticking up for them. And I'm just like, that's one of the reasons I don't talk about censorship so much on Twitter. Now, I've seen a few people get removed, and I've commented publicly saying, this is absurd. This is ridiculous. This is, totally wrong. Why is this happening? But there are a lot of times when people make a stink about someone getting removed, and I see it, and I just refrain from commenting simply because I knew what their motive was in getting removed or attempting to get removed. There's one guy in particular, we all know him. He has his own little TV series, web series, whatever. I won't say his name. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
That was, when that happened, that was one of the first major ones, I would say, that kind of got everyone discussing it. And I refrained from comment on that one. And it wasn't because I supported the removal. It was because there were so many people out there that were taking up for him, defending him, saying that he was, there were people that were saying he was wrong. And then a few weeks later, I released a statement saying, what, after it had been revealed, what he was removed for, all that, I simply stated something like, people should be able to speak freely and it should not be politically biased. And that was all I said. I said nothing else. But to see the way some people are getting targeted on social media and followers disappearing, it's very strange, and it definitely needs to be looked into. Because if they are allowed to get away with it for so long, it's going to become a permanent habit. These social media companies are going to be removing everyone that they don't personally agree with. And we can't have that. That will crumble a nation quicker than I've ever seen anything crumble. You think about how influential Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, Snapchat, if they just go around, these big tech, Google, if they go around and start policing what people are saying to the point where they are totally suspending or banning someone from their platform, and that person has no way to communicate, that to me is, and when you start thinking about it, one of the craziest things to think that someone's voice can be taken away from them, because we rely on our voice on social media platforms, the internet, for so many things, to voice our opinions, to say what we're doing, to share what we think. And to think that someone at Twitter headquarters can dictate whether or not I'm allowed to be on their platform and just state a simple opinion that it's not derogatory, does not contain any hate, and just be removed, that to me is scary. Yeah. And I sit and think about it, and it blows my mind sometimes. I really started thinking about it one day and said their voice has just been taken from them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets reinstated, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, there used to be a time when you could actually disagree with someone in their life and whatever it was that they were, and you weren't considered hateful. Mm-hmm.
Right?
You could actually agree to disagree and still remain friends.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was just one of my buddies. He just retweeted. There's some story like just before I got here, and it was like some guy on the left, and he was like, "Oh, this girl." One of my friends, she chose the MAGA hat over me or something like that. So I ended my friendship with her. And I was just thinking, I'm like, I have like a lot of friends who I don't get political with. I know that they're, I have friends that are even super progressive, way out there leftists. And we just don't talk politics, like we just like, we rib each other on Facebook, like he'll send me something silly and I'll send him something silly. We both make fun of it. And we're still really good friends. I wouldn't want to throw away a really meaningful friendship just because we disagree on some ideals or ideas that, I guess depending on some of them, I would draw the line. But I was going to say, it seems nowadays it's just so vicious and people are just willing to. It's kind of scary as a society to look at that and think that we're just throwing away meaningful friendships of years of people, just over some stupid politics. It doesn't matter,
Right. And so many people are like, Trump's divisive, Trump's done this. It's not Trump, it's you.
Yeah.
If you allow someone to influence your friendships, that's a personal problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's nothing to do with the president of the United States. That's the you problem. You've had your opinions forever. You had your opinion 10 years before this president took office.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're losing a friendship over it now, that's your problem.
Yeah.
Nobody's problem but yours. I make friendships work. Now, there are people that I don't necessarily hang around with as much anymore because of their political views, but we're still friends. We will still communicate. I'm not going to cut anyone off simply because of the way, they view things politically. And I see it happen to so many people on the internet. They unfriend people. And I've done it once or twice. That's not something that I'm going to do because typically I will respect someone's opinion. That's what they feel. That's what they feel. But when people start coming at me for it, that I know personally, I just unfriend it because I don't want to argue with somebody that I want to do pretty well.
Exactly.
I just don't have time for it. I don't have time to argue, period. I don't even think I argue on Twitter with anybody really except congressional Democrats who are post absurd and ludicrous posts. But
Wait, what?
if you go to my feed and you click on one tweet, you'll go through there and be like, "Oh, you work for Breitbart, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
you're a fat whatever." It's just they call me all these names. I don't have time. If I went through and argued with every single person that had a mean comment to say, I would be a totally busy person. And I would expect to get paid for it because that is a lot of work.
Right, exactly.
That's awesome,
dude. So let's move on.
Yeah, you want to take the let's take the work hat, the business hat off, and now let's put on the fun hat, the conspiracy hat, the tin hat.
Okay.
Oh man! So before we were recording, we were just. The three of us were just kind of chatting, and you had mentioned an experience that you had was it a hospital? I think you said.
Right.
So what?
A few friends and I, we went out to it's an abandoned hospital. I won't give out too many specifics, or else people will be like, "I know where that is." But anyway, we went out there one night for a little thrill, and it was me, my roommate, and three of our friends. And my roommate was driving. My friend was in the front seat. I was in the back seat with our other two friends, who were a couple. And it was just me and me. I was a guy. There was another guy, and it was a three girl. So here we are. We're going out here to do this, and all of us aren't like we're not going. We don't get scared easily, so we're pretty. We like to go do things like this. So here we go. We set out, and we get out there. We go in the main building that has where the beds were, where the cafeteria was, where the main central hub of the entire facility. It's standalone. And we go in, we walk around, totally dark, no lights, no nothing. And one of our friends, she said, I just don't, feel right. We need to get out of here. I feel like someone's watching us. I keep hearing things, and it's just kind of crazy. So we were like, yeah, okay, we'll go, we'll go. We trust this. Of all of us that were there, I would say that she was one of the most calming people. Mm-hmm. She can calm someone down in instances of shock or fear or any kind of drama. And we got in the car and we go on down. It just makes a circle, sort of. But we go down and we were going to a holding facility where they would hold dead bodies and eventually dispose of them when they passed away in the hospital.
Good times.
I knew where it was, and we went down the road, and my roommate was driving. Well, we keep driving, and I'm in the back seat. I'm sitting behind the passenger seat in the back seat, so I can't necessarily see what's in the road. Well, I feel the car just kind of stop and go down in a little rut, and it goes down in the rut, and I'm like, this is bumpy, so I look, and roommate says, "Do you see that?" And this guy who looks, I would say 6'5", 6'7",
whoa,
steps out of the bushes. Okay, and when I say it was shocking, it was shocking. I wish I had taken a picture because it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced. Steps out of the bushes. He's wearing orange pants, or maybe it was an orange shirt. I think it was orange pants though, because it was like full body orange, and a shirt that is just shredded. I would say around his belly button.
Oh.
And we all are froze just looking at it. And I said, get us out of here. Get us out of here. And she's driving, and she's attempting to get us out of there the best she can. And she says, I don't know what to do. I'm panicking. And our friend was with us and said, just calm down. The girl that said that she had heard something and felt like somebody was following us. And at that moment, it felt like she almost knew exactly what was going to happen to us before we even got around the curve and saw it. Mm-hmm. She said, just calm down, put it in reverse. We're going to get out of here. Well, she wasn't able to, so she did a 3-point turn and in the middle there. And one of the most terrifying images, aside from the one with a headlight shining on his body, walking towards us now. He wasn't just standing there. He was starting to walk towards us slowly. Well, she puts it in drive, backs up, and we're sideways in the road, halfway in the 3-point turn. And she puts it in reverse again to drive, and I look out the window, and I can see the silhouette of his body, not running, but fastly approaching the car. Mm. And it was one of the most, I cannot put it into words how scary and how terrified I felt at that moment. And I wasn't to the point where I was like, we're going to get killed. I had my gun, I had my pistol with me. So, we weren't like totally scared.
Yeah,
if I had to shot someone, I would shoot someone, I would. But anyway, we drove off and all of us were just shaking. Like, what the heck just happened? And we get out and there's a guy and a girl, a young couple. We told them what we saw and they just start walking down towards this place on foot to go in. And we told them there was a guy out there. I don't know what happened to those people.
Oh, man.
But that was one of the scariest feelings that I think I've ever felt. I'm not scared easily, typically. But that scene that night when I looked up, when we all looked really at the initial, contact with this guy that just stepped out of the woods, it was terrifying. And I haven't had anything else like that happen to me, but that was one of the most craziest experiences I think I've had in going to search for things. So.
Yeah. That's almost like, I was going to say, I didn't tell, I don't know if I've ever told anyone this story. We went into this abandoned asylum one time up a couple states away. I'll say that so I don't implicate myself. And, dude, those things are so freaking scary. I remember just walking around. I have no idea how. We're looking for ghosts, I guess, or something like that. But it is, I can't imagine actually finding something like that. It's
yeah. What you did, it was like the worst case scenarios. Like first of all, you let a girl drive. First mistake.
Well,
I'm kidding.
We had been out there a few other times, never saw anything like this. We just thought it would be another run. It was not just another run to go to just get a little thrill that night. We got an absolute horror show. We weren't even able to sit outside when we got back. We had to go inside. We were like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
We came inside. But.
Oh man, well that is a good way to get it started. Well, so we actually just did. We're gonna throw this out here. We actually just did an episode a couple episodes ago about aliens. And I hate that this feels so disjointed, but so we were just talking about this. What do you think? Because I know that there's a bunch of different ways that people think about it in terms of like, are they extraterrestrials? Are they like interdimensional time beings and stuff like that? I was gonna say, I know you got.
Have you ever seen? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I know that you had an interest in that, and so I definitely wanted to bring it up. And yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Interstellar?
Yes.
Okay, that's what kickstarted this thought process of mine. I saw this movie with a few friends, and I got to thinking, you go out in space, time is different. The further out you go, the quicker time passes on Earth. Mm-hmm. And to me, it blew my mind. It literally blew my mind to think that could happen. So I started thinking, one day I was like, there's got to be life out there. There's got to be. We don't even know how large space is. And to think about how small we actually are just on Earth. And then you think about how actually small we as humans are that are on Earth. that's already very small. And I was just like, that is just insane to me. So I started thinking, there's people out there that are. I've wondered, is there another planet? Is there another planet that's sort of like ours that has humans on it? Is there life out there that resembles us? But most of the time, people think of aliens. They think of like, what would I say? You're like typical green alien that has a big head and 2 arms and 2 legs. And I don't think of it that way. I don't necessarily think that would be what an alien looked like.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't think it would look like something from Star Wars either.
Right.
I just don't feel like it would be human-like. But when I start thinking, the thing that I love to think about the most is the time difference. Mm-hmm. And the way people can go, say I just left and flew today, went into space, got so far out there and came back, I had my watch on, and it's literally 24 hours to me, and I come back and say it's, 30 years for you. To think that that's possible and it's real blows my mind.
Yeah.
Every time we talk about this, we discuss, the movie Interstellar and how weird it is, the dimensions, and is that real? How does that work? And we start thinking about all these things that the human mind, it almost cannot even comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very weird to me, but I mean, as far as like life out there, that's one of the things that I get stumped on. I don't know what they would look like, but I can certainly tell you that our galaxy is very small compared to space. So when you get out in space, that black hole, for instance, how many light years was that away? I mean, it was so far away. Mm-hmm. Like, we can't even get to it. And to think, that's actually out there, there's no telling what kind of life is out there that it actually exists. And I don't know that we'll ever find it. I don't know, in our lifetime anyway, I don't know that we'll ever see anything come of it.
Well, I don't know, man. Didn't you hear the recent interview with Trump? And Tucker asked him about aliens, and he said, "I don't know. We'll see. We'll see."
Oh yeah. Well, anything's possible with this president. I certainly don't want to underestimate his little ability to go to space travel and the Space Force. But it's one of those things. I don't think we'll ever see it. But I would certainly be blown away if we did. If we had a visit from some sort of what would you even say? What would you even call this? I mean, some sort of visit from some sort of extraterrestrial beings, I guess, that are out there, and they just appear one day in a little pod. And is it going to be like we think it is? Is it going to be very techno, very futuristic? Is it going to be like one of those pods, or is it literally going to be something that's just like made up of limbs and crap, and they somehow guide it through our layers to get into Earth? I mean, it's one of those things. It blows my mind to think about. So that's why when we have friends over, we talk about so many things like that. And a little later, I'll tell you something else after we get off this topic. It's pretty funny, pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say the whole thing. I'm divided on the alien contact thing. This was a really interesting anecdote, and I think it's been far along. Yeah, I've been far away enough that from when I was told it, so that it couldn't implicate the person who told it to me. But I have going on the topic of these things. The thing that I never get about aliens is that I don't trust the government to keep it a secret. I don't trust the government enough to actually, keep a secret from us or successfully, keep something hidden for so long. But I was going to say, this is a really interesting thing I was talking about, the story that was relayed to me. I have this buddy who works for a certain, he's very senior, high up in a agency that most people wouldn't think. It's just one of these obscure kind of things that they do a lot of stuff but no one really knows about. And he was telling, we were just talking. I think I won't give away the location or the reason we were talking, but he was just telling me about the time he went to Area 51, and they were doing all sorts of these tests, and like he was driving around and it is so locked down. The perimeter of the actual military base is miles of gates, and like, you know, when you're driving from the, you know, the gate to the next point, you can't stop. You have to continuously just keep going, and you can't slow down at Area 51. And he was saying like they were out there doing these certain tests for something. And he was looking around, and there's all these weird antennas pointing upward, like all this crazy stuff out there. So it really just, there's so much mystery to it, and I don't know where I fall on aliens, because part of me wants to say that I think certain conspiracy theories are, the government lets them run amok. You know, I hear these crazy stuff. I don't want to say anything more about what he told me at this place, but just for security reasons, for whatever reason, if I happen to say something and then it gets me suicided or something like that. But
over the aliens.
But
well,
go ahead. Yeah.
Well, one thing that interests me too is when you think about the Nazca lines that are in Peru. Have you ever heard of those? Those are the ones that are like shapes of animals that are seen from so many miles up.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, those are from, you know, thousands of years ago. People created these things. Who are they signaling, and why? What made them think that someone would ever be able to see that from above? Because they had never had a plane fly over. They had never had any kind of aircraft fly over them. So what made them think that someone would even be able to tell what that was from the sky? That's been another thing that I've always questioned too, which I'd like to look more into. Because what did they know? What gave them the impression that they should lay these, you know, bricks or whatever it was that they were constructed out of down so that they could be seen from space? I mean, because you have to go a few miles up in space to see these, or above Earth actually,
Right.
to see these shapes. I mean, they have like a monkey. I mean, they have so many different shapes, and it's just crazy to me to think that those people were that intelligent at that time to do that without actually getting an aerial view of the finished product.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very weird. I wonder what they knew or why they even went to that much trouble.
Right.
Seeing as how nothing existed to get them that high up to see what it would look like when it was done.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. There's just so much weird, odd stuff that happens, which is, I think, a great, you know, just the whole pivoting of when you go outside of stuff that really doesn't matter on Twitter. There's so just an entire world of so much stuff that you can spend hours and years just thinking about and talking about and postulating on, of, you know, why do you do this? Why did this group of people do these crazy things? And I think it's really refreshing and important to just take a break from everything, you know, going on, and think about all the questions that you brought up and all the just the weird stuff. Like I get asked quite often, and just conspiracy theories in general. I don't want to say this in a way, but I almost treat them like entertainment to a degree that almost, to be completely honest, I don't even know where I stand on some of them. Like, I know so much about them, and I'm not sure if I believe or not. But it's such a fascinating thing just to be able to talk about at a party or bring it up. And
right. I mean, you bring up one topic, it's an hour-long conversation.
Oh yeah.
So it's entertainment for sure.
Yeah, and it's so good to just put out at a party, you know, like, you know, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm not invited to enough parties that after I talk about stuff like that. But it's always interesting.
You're going to the wrong parties. That's the problem.
But yeah, to say like, oh yeah, hey, you actually do believe that the moon's real? Well, let's talk about that. You know, or something like that.
Right.
It's so fascinating. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, when I go on dates with my wife, she's like, do we have to talk about the conspiracy stuff? Because to me, it's an escape, man. It's like, oh gosh, man, I look at the real world, what's going on, and some of the stuff, and I'm like, man, I need an escape. I need something to like get my creative mind to think a little bit better, and But yeah, I always have this tendency when I approach any of these things, whether it's ghosts, whether it's these Peru Nazaki lines or whatever they're called, anything like that, I always try and come at it because of my my background is just really like a biblical perspective. So,
Right.
and most people don't even realize it, but the Bible has some pretty insane stuff in it, that would actually kind of bear witness to some of these things, why they happen and why they are. But
Right.
the one thing that always that I can't wrap my head around is pyramids. They're found everywhere. And then what was the purpose of them? I don't believe they were burial tombs. I think there was something else. And especially the great ones. And
Egypt.
yeah, like
Right.
who built them?
Right.
I was told one time, oh, it was the Jews when they were in captivity, the Israelites, when they were in captivity to Egypt. But no, there's no way, because when you start to line up the history lines and all that, which dynasty built them and all, they were already in existence before
Yeah.
they got there. So who?
That's interesting too. I mean, these rocks. I forget how much each block weighed.
Tons.
But at that time, there was no equipment whatsoever that could have lifted those up to put them up there. And to think that there was some, type of belt that these people used, or, it really makes me mad because I can't think of a solution
Right.
to how it could have happened. I get to thinking about it, and I'm like, I can't come up with a solution, and why can't I? And then, I've read a few articles about the pyramids and the people that, talk about how they moved the blocks. They talked about how they used like streams to float the blocks down, and I'm thinking, yeah, I've never seen a stream that could push a 6,000-pound block. But I mean, if that's
Right.
news to me, if it's out there. But I mean, I just don't understand. Was there a wheel then? Did they have a wheel?
Oh, the wheel?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
the
wheel.
wheel. I think the wheel existed. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the wheel
Yeah.
is
So-
probably one of the earliest man
Okay, yeah, I think it was, yeah. So if they used a wheel, that could be some sort of solution, maybe. That they might have used a wheel to move these, and but as far as like what do you call them? A crane. There was no crane, so and they're so perfectly placed. So it's really mind blowing.
Yeah, they found like some of these pyramids have like laser precision like alignment.
Cutting, yeah.
So I don't even know how they did that. Like how
Yeah.
they didn't have
That's-
right?
mean,
Using a
and
And to
chisel.
think about how many blocks are up there, it would have taken someone years to have carved each one of those to match precisely and to be squared off on each side.
Yeah, and
So-
they discovered too, like recently, that they're not flat. They're actually like bulging, but it's not from time. It was actually designed that way, and it's the only way that it could be designed so that it wouldn't fall in on itself. So like they had like some trigonometry and some stuff going on there where they understood it,
Nerds.
They were the earliest mathematicians.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's one of those things that I don't know. Like I said, I get mad because I cannot come up with a viable solution as to how they would have been able to construct something so magnificent at that, age and time. And then you look at it now and you're like, I don't even know if we could do that now and make it look, is that good. But
Right.
Yeah.
of course we could, but at that time that was just unthinkable.
Yeah, but I
That was
mean,
a lot of work. So
yeah, and I think the thing that's funny about it is if it was people who carved, if it takes, I don't know, throw out 2 years of someone working per stone or something to carve it at the thing, less than 2 years, let's
Yeah.
say 6 months.
Right.
And there's thousands of these huge stones that have to go there. It's, if they were just doing by math, like just say that they were able to do it over the course of 500 years, which is just mind blowing, that generations of people
Right.
persisted, throughout their lifetimes to just build
Right.
something that they'll never see to fruition. The people that started
Right.
building it aren't going to live long enough. And I think how funny it is now. Like, I don't want to wait. I complain about, if I have bad internet service because I can't, I have to wait for something to load or to buffer.
Dude, if Chick-fil-A takes more than 30 seconds to get my meal, I'm ticked off.
Yeah, but what were you gonna say, Kyle? You said you're gonna bring up something funny.
Oh yeah, this is a good thing to leave you with. We were sitting around one night and we were talking something like this, I'm sure, where we were all discussing our opinions. And we're all relatively the same age, our friend group. There are a few that are a little older, but I was sitting around and we all looked at each other and we were just talking, and the conversation kind of died. And I said, it's going to be weird to think that we're all going to die at different points. Unless some freak accident happens, we're all on a roller coaster and we die together. But I said the odds of that are very slim. And I was like, we're going to die at different points in our life, but we're all sitting here right now. And I brought up this kind of topic. I was like, the last person that's alive, if they have a question about something that we discussed here tonight, there's not going to be anybody that they can call and say, do you remember what we were talking about that night? Or do you remember who was there? Because they're going to be the last person that's alive on this earth with that memory. And it hit me that night. It hit me so deep, and I was thinking, God, I hope I'm not the last person because I can't remember crap.
Right.
And I thought, if I am the last person and I go to call up somebody that was here at my house that night, 50 years from now and say, do you remember so-and-so when we were out on the porch that night? They're going to be like, no, I don't. And I'm going to be like, if they're already dead, then I won't have anybody to call at all. Like, they're all dead. And that really hit me to think about how short life really is.
Mm-hmm.
And how you go through life working your entire life to make dollars, to be happy, feed yourself. And at the end of it, it's kind of just, it ends and you go, if you're religious, then you believe that you have, a greater, it's greater than anything here on earth. But when you start thinking about how your life on earth is and how you live your life on earth and how those people that have led this country to success over the years, when they die, new people are going to take over. To me, that just really gets me thinking. And that's really, I think a lot of people make fun of me that are in our friend group because I'm so sentimental. If we go somewhere, I'll keep something from that trip, or I'll, take a picture of something crazy that happened at that trip. I'm so sentimental and I hold on to memories as long as I can. And that's one of the things that I would advise everyone to do. Whatever you do in this life, whatever you do, whether you write or you are political, non-political, whatever, you got to always remember the small things, because one day you're going to have a question and there's not going to be somebody there you can ask about what happened or what occurred. And that to me is just crazy. So,
yeah, I was going to say, not to get all sentimental, but it was, I recently heard this, he was a YouTuber and he got asked this question about what he wants about social media accounts, after, if he were to die, what he would want with people to have with his social media account, turn it over, delete it, turn it, what do they want to do with it? And, it's one of those things, like, I know I've lost, some people that were close to me, and, like it's bittersweet now because I'll, like I'll go through their Instagram, feed of my buddies that I still follow, or, like I have screenshots of old text messages or, like all this stuff. Yeah. And, it's really cool to think that, like, if we think about all the garbage that happens on social media and how bad people treat each other, just faceless people, saying stuff to you, saying stuff to me, saying stuff to Turner, that, it's just such a nasty place. There's still just those people with the, building the pyramids didn't, I would suspect don't have the same level of ability to, keep record of good stuff. They couldn't take pictures of, all this stuff, and it was all kind of, passed down by word of mouth. So it's really a cool place that we're in, as bittersweet as it is. If I'm feeling sad, about a buddy or missing him or something like that, I can pull up just, obnoxious stuff or, obnoxious text that he used to send me. And stuff like that, and kind of relive some stuff, and
Relive that moment.
yeah. And so it's amazing that it's like the same weapon can be utilized, to destroy someone and create so much animosity and just vomiting hatred at people, and at the same time is just such a gift if you choose to use it that way,
Right.
And
if you use it for good, it can be a blessing.
exactly,
Yeah.
it can get you a job at working at Breitbart.
That's right. That's right. That's awesome.
Right. I mean, it's crazy what it can do.
Yeah.
I try to keep it calm most of the time. I hate to get sentimental, when we're sitting around, but life's precious. You got to really cherish it because you never know when you could be taken out of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I've seen it happen far too often.
Mhm.
People, that are my age, they die in a boating accident, a car crash. And, I just think, I thought about it the other day. Say I was to go to sleep tonight, die in my sleep. People are going to come into my room that next day, find me dead. They're going to have to go through all of my stuff. And I thought, all the things that are on my phone, all the, like you said, my social media, all of that. So, I mean, I've actually, I've written a letter, saying exactly what I want to happen to like my accounts, and it's got my passwords and stuff like that. And I put it under my bed, because someone's going to find it,
Mhm.
and it's in a lockbox, my lockbox, and my mom and dad know the lockbox code. So, if something happens, they can get in there. But I mean, you just got to really cherish this life, and that's one reason I'm not so bitter on Twitter. I've never been a real bitter person when it comes to like attacking people for their opinions or anything like that. But I certainly see it. I see it every day when I log on. People, I don't take death threats so seriously. I used to be fearful of them. Like, is this serious? But I've come to learn that that's just something that comes with this career. It's getting crazy. It's gotten out of hand. People are literally, I mean, if you look at Andy, the journalist that got attacked by Antifa, I won't go into detail about all that because I have my opinions about how that happened. But there was no need for what happened that day. Whether he was, some people are saying, oh, he was looking for it to happen. Whatever the case, there was no reason that should have happened that day.
Yeah.
You gotta watch your back. So you gotta watch your back. You gotta cherish this life, and you gotta do good. Do good for yourself.
Wise
do good
words.
For others. So I mean, it's one of those things. That's what I try to remember every day when I wake up. I want to make people laugh. I want to make people, enjoy their time with me. And some days I wake up, I'm moody, I'm grumpy, something's happened, that I have to cover, and just crazy, psychotic stories. And I'm just thinking, this is really testing my limits today. And people can tell when I'm frustrated. But I try to wake up every day with a clear mind. And I try to treat every day differently. Because like I said, you don't know when you could be leaving this world. So,
yeah. Amen.
Yeah. Well, man.
Dude, thank you so much for joining with us and talking with us, man. It was absolutely a pleasure.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I don't, like I told you, I don't get to do many things like this, where I can just actually be relaxed and enjoy it. Because my life is all politics and no play usually. So,
Yeah.
Well, you seem like an excellent dude, man. If you're ever around and you're going to be around where we are, we'd love to grab a bite to eat and hang out.
Oh, certainly. I sure will. I'm sure I'll be around.
Yeah.
Getting me started now where I'm going to all different kinds of places. So
awesome.
I'll let you know.
Cool. Well, I was going to sum it up with, I don't remember what I was just going to say, so it wasn't that important. But yeah, thank you so much, man. And that's what I was going to say. Next time you want to talk, you always have an open phone line
invitation
to come talk, and maybe next time we can dive more into some of the crazier stuff, and the more out there.
Because I have a friend. His name's Josh. I told him that I would be doing this today, and I told him that we might talk about conspiracies. And he's the main guy that loves this. And he said, "Oh, I mean, I wish I could go on there with you." And I said, maybe I can convince them one day to let me have a guest on with you.
Oh, dude,
because I mean, he will blow your mind at some of the things that he says. I mean, I'm not the smartest person out there, but I know a pretty good bit. And he makes me sometimes just sit back and go, "Wow, I never thought about that." So, but it's it's interesting. So yeah, I'm sure if you'll have me back, I'd love to come back.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Oh yeah, definitely, man.
Well,
Thanks for taking time to hang out with us, man. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Right.
and for all of our listeners, it's Real Kyle Morris at Twitter. That's Real Kyle Morris. Go follow him and enjoy his tweets. That's all we're gonna say.
Keep up to date and remember that it's a real person. So
That's
don't
Right.
think
Not fake Kyle Morris. It's real Kyle Morris.
That's right.
exactly.
That's right.
So maybe think twice before you start throwing some words at people on the
That's right.
internet.
That's right.
Be nice.
All right.
So
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time, and we'll catch our listeners next time. Thanks for hanging out with us. See ya.
see you.
Thanks for listening to the All Out War podcast today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to know more, you can visit us on the web at alloutwar.us, or you can find us on Twitter at alloutwarcast. Hey, thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.